That is the positive story for Bitcoin, but everyone has free intelligence now. That this is no longer a game. We've reached the point that security is going to be an issue. And again, if I go back to the Bitcoin story, this makes cryptography much more important. Whenever I hear quantum, and quantum's not close to breaking anything there, we actually have something that will break things faster.
Veteran macro investor Jordi Visser recently delivered a masterclass on why this isn't just a market correction. It's a structural supersonic tsunami. We are at a point where AI is no longer a future disruption. It is a recursive, self-improving engine that is hollowing out the moats of every public software company on the planet. From the shock resignation of lead safety researchers at Anthropic to the eerie correlation between the SaaS index and Bitcoin, Visser's 2026 blueprint suggests that the game of musical chairs has officially entered its final, most aggressive stage. If you own software stocks, if you're a Bitcoin holder, or if you're just trying to figure out how to keep your skills relevant in a world of agentic swarms, this breakdown is for you. Let's get into the data. Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space, and drop your comments and observations in the comment section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
AI is not a temporary thing. So when I hear someone compare this to COVID, that would mean this is just a panic thing. This is not algorithmic. So, you know, if you guys have listened to our show, I've been emphatic about the fact that by 2030, most of the S&P 500 companies are going to be disrupted. So I just want you to look up a statement, and this is what I'm going to do on the weekend. Elon Musk has said that AI is a supersonic tsunami. What is happening in the market right now is exactly that. Software names can't catch a bid for a reason. They're making money. This is not about what they are today. A growth company, and this will all lead into positive things for Bitcoin eventually, so don't worry about it. But when Kathy talks about this being temporary, that is a mistake for everyone who owns software names. This is never going away. There are no winners in terms of winning. The winners are not public companies. So when Kathy tells you there are winners in AI, I don't work for a public company anymore. I don't work for a company. I chose that because the power of AI is for individuals sitting at home. And guess what? There are 7 billion people on the planet who've never been able to partake in capitalism. That is the positive story for Bitcoin, but everyone has free intelligence now, everybody. So what is going on literally as we sit here, and at a morning meeting today, I said to everyone, Opus 4.6 came out last week. I didn't have the time last week to spend with it. Guys, it's 5 times more powerful than Opus 4.5, which is what caused this whole disruption. So we are speeding up at a point where recursive self-improvement is happening as we speak, which means the models are building themselves. So to sit there and think that there is a public company with individuals and friction, having worked in it and watched the pantry conversations with people that don't work hard, this is over. Meaning this stuff is real. So the market has to digest this. It has to go through this. And I bring this up because this is not going to change. So the hyperscalers are at risk. The software companies are at risk, not to collapse because they're going to make money. But what is happening in the market is they are dealing with the fact that no company now has a moat. Their businesses are no longer defensible. And my attraction to Bitcoin was based on my belief that the only moat that Bitcoin has is what Mike Novogratz said. It is a community-based asset that is built on code, and the game of investing money is a game of musical chairs. There's a rotation happening, and people are avoiding everything that's built on code. They're moving it into physical things, which will continue because we're in a race to build out the data center. So I do not want people leaving here thinking they can just go out and buy any technology innovation name, because AI is coming for all of them, and I think it's going to be a long, long road for a lot of these software companies over the course of the next 5 years trying to deal with this. Well, there's 2 problems with this. So, and again, Google's going to get caught up in this as well, even though their model's great and everyone loves them. In the most recent earnings reports, we had a total of $1.2 trillion of what are called RPOs, which you can think of as liabilities or future orders that hopefully they'll get. And those are based on building out data centers. And in this country, we are getting data center cancellations every single day across the country. You're getting all toxins and stuff that are showing up. This is going to be a major story. I think Google falls into the same trap. The only way they can monetize this is actually to have the ability of letting all these AI agents run on their data centers, but they don't have the data centers to handle the flow and the volume. We're at the agentic acceleration right now. AI agents are working, they're running, they're going fast. And so the only way that they can make the money off it at this point is through the cloud usage, and they're not going to have enough cloud usage because they can't get the data centers. So when you mention Google, they fall in the same micro problem as Microsoft. The only difference with Microsoft is they actually have something that's usable. But there's a new problem that also fits in with these companies that people have to understand. I'm finally using a Chinese model. I've never done that before. The reason I'm using now Kimi 2.5 is because I have my own machine with AI agents now. And again, I'm old school. I didn't know how to do anything on a computer, honestly, a year ago, 18 months ago, other than the basic stuff. And now I have AI agents running on a Mac Mini inside my apartment, and I'm using a Chinese model because it's free. So the problem with Google and all these places, and this does get to the deflation thing that Kathy mentioned, and it's something that you've talked about, it's really hard to avoid the deflationary aspect. And since most people, and I was just at a conference where 80-something% of endowments and foundations thought inflation was going to be higher a year from now. So the reality is we have a deflationary situation that's happening, and the reason is because AI is driving that deflation as we speak.
Amidst the carnage, Visser remains bullish on Bitcoin's long-term utility. Why? Because Bitcoin is the only community-based asset built on a moat of immutable code. As AI drives massive deflation by making human intelligence free and abundant, the value of scarcity goes through the roof. Most assets, commodities, industrials, even traditional tech are not growth assets. They are cyclical or value plays. Bitcoin is the only growth asset that is truly scarce. More importantly, AI is about to allow 7 billion people who have never partaken in global capitalism to finally join the game. When a kid in a remote village has access to a supersonic AI thinking partner and a decentralized monetary base, the network effects for Bitcoin become unstoppable. The current flush in price is temporary, a side effect of the SaaS re-rate. But once software bottoms out, Bitcoin is positioned to break away as the primary monetary base for an AI agent-driven world.
But the shelter component and how you deal with shelter is the difference in the calculation. So if history serves well, unless we're going to see a bounce in the housing market, which I see zero chance of that happening, given the fact that people are under pressure at their work, I don't see that going on. If the stock market falls, you're definitely not going to have it. What would cause deflation is if the stock market falls off. And the reason I brought up the Supersonic Tsunami, if all of you raised your hand and I said, what's the largest position in your portfolio? And maybe you've got a trading account, but if you have a pension or you have anything, your biggest positions are software stocks. Not because you chose them, but because you're in the S&P 500 or you're in some kind of ETF that has mainly software in it. So I advise all of you to check that and go through it, because that's the stuff that's pulling the market. At some point, if you imagine trying to transfer all of the money in the world so quickly, and that's what Elon Musk said, there's a tsunami which is structural, but there's supersonic, which was all about the fact it's going to happen so fast that individuals, companies, governments will not be able to move fast enough. And that's what's starting to happen. I'm worried by what I saw in the last week, mainly from Anthropic, because if you guys didn't see it, one of the lead researchers on their safety group resigned. And he talked about why he resigned. He's going to do poetry now. That's how scared he is of what's coming. Dario Amodei wrote a paper on the negatives of AI. And the reason he's writing that is because he has models 6 months ahead. We're at the point now where they said, we had the model Opus 4.6 go through our code. This is a AI company, and see how many bugs they could find. They found 500 security places they could break into. That is the power of AI agents. That's the power of these models. If you can break into Anthropic, they can break into your bank account and everything else. So we've reached a point where the governments and everyone in the world just has to deal with the fact that this is no longer a game. We've reached the point that security is going to be an issue. And again, if I go back to the Bitcoin story, this makes cryptography much more important. Whenever I hear quantum, and quantum's not close to breaking anything there, we actually have something that will break things faster, which are agent swarms, and those are picking up now, and that's why go read about the safety person who resigned and went to go do poetry, and go read Dario Modi. So in the basics of what the government will do, there's lots of companies that are going to make money. And in the case of the hyperscalers, what we're talking about now is not the S&P 500 not making money. We're actually talking about multiple compression, meaning they're moving the multiple of the market down. And the reason they're doing that is because every industry is now under attack as to whether their business is actually defendable against this side. Normally that takes a long time. So one thing I do believe is that you'll get a panic. The hyperscalers are the most important thing. And when I say the hyperscalers, this is not Tesla, this is not NVIDIA, this is not Apple. This is the 4 companies spending $650 billion this year. This is Meta, this is Microsoft, this is Amazon, this is Google. They're spending $650 billion this year. If they don't get the revenues in, then what happens is their equity has to go down, and their equity has to go down from a cap structure basis. Now, again, they're making revenues over 15%, so this is not some bad story. They have the capital to do this, but they become the line in the sand for everything. My gut tells me if anything bad is going to happen, it's going to happen in the next month or two. And the reason I say that is because the condition of mutual funds and hedge funds in trying to reposition for this, and the reason they reposition quickly is because they're paid on performance. And I was in that world. A hedge fund has month-to-month marks. If they're down 10%, they have to reduce risk. So the beauty of the way I think about Bitcoin in this scenario, so I'm hoping it gets flushed with everything else, and all of you should hear too. This is a temporary thing, and it's been matched up with SaaS. I'd be more worried about Bitcoin if SaaS was going higher and Bitcoin was going down. But these charts are overlaid for a reason, because they're directly linked between the VC world and the investment side of the ecosystem, but also because of it's built on code. So it should go down. And my ultimate theme has been that eventually when software is deemed to be problematic and AI is kind of this hard thing to invest in, which is where we are, Bitcoin would start to outperform. And then all of the meetings going on that you should invest in digital assets, you'll start to see the money flow in from the public companies and from the enterprises, from the wealth management people. But it's the only growth asset that is scarce. All these other places, commodities are not growth assets. Industrials are not growth assets. Now they are. Those are cyclical. Those are value. They're not growth assets. And most money is in a growth bucket. So if Bitcoin can break away when SaaS bottoms, and that's what needs to happen, is SaaS needs to bottom. And once it bottoms and we've discounted enough, we're at the lowest multiples we've seen in the space since before the iPhone. So we're at a point where you could find a bottom at any point, and that's what I'm hoping is going to happen. But the repositioning that happens says, and the reason I say a month, normally these things carry into the end of a month when it's been this bad, and then you get another week of it, and then you bottom out. That's what I'm kind of looking for, is that the risk is for the next 3 weeks, and at that point, maybe Bitcoin's down at 40,000, or maybe it hangs in here and it seems some rotation. If you were recording what I said, just put that in the chat GPT and find where my holes are and correct me on whatever things are there. I think people should be using it every day at this point. If not for you guys, for your kids. I think it's a mistake for anyone to not realize how fast it's moving. We're past the point, and I've said this for a while now, but we are really past the point. Opus 4.5 to Opus 4.6 is shocking to me. Eric Schmidt didn't think we'd be at Recursive Self-Improvement until next year, maybe latter part of this year. The fact that we're there now should scare the hell out of everyone, because nobody's ready for it when the leaders of the frontier models are saying it. So my big thing is get used to it, incorporate it into your life. It's only going to accelerate faster and faster. And regardless if another data center is built, it's already insanely powerful what you can do with it. So I'm on it all day long as a curiosity freak. I love it. The world's not going away. Even if the stock market falls down, you're going to have lives. Use it for your health. Use it for your kids in terms of developing new skills that they can learn to deal with this. We just created more jobs in a month than we had in a long time. Granted, they were all nurses and doctors in the healthcare field again, but there is a place where people can learn new skills. They can learn things. So I definitely highly recommend doing it. And you can always go to my website, and now I've got videos out on showing people how they can do the things that I do. I was talking to Russell Oken for a while. It was a great conversation, and I was very impressed with the way that he's thinking about it. And we had a very deep conversation on the way to think about AI as a thinking partner and how to use it in the way you do with work. But we talked about the thing it can't replace. And so you guys all know this. For all the things I said about how it's disrupting businesses, it cannot handle human context, and it cannot understand what humans want to read. I write 3 to 4 papers a week. They would not, no one would care to read them if they were written by AI. It takes my thinking about what's someone else wants to read, what's in their mind, what they're worried about, what's going on. I'm actually speaking emphatically today to you guys because I want you to hear and be lucky that you're here to hear that, hey, if something goes on in the market, you heard it from me, that there's something really alarming going on with Opus 4.6 and the safety person leaving at Anthropic, and why this is a bigger story than it should be.
Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space, and drop your comments and observations in the comment section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks, and enjoy the video.